The morning sun rose gently over the small African village. Birds sang from the rooftops. Children with brown skin hurried to school, and the aroma of food filled the air. At the center stood Stella, a young woman with radiant brown skin and neatly braided hair, carrying a steaming pot of noodles to her stall. Mothers with dark brown skin lined up with coins in hand, eager to buy breakfast for their children. Farmers leaned on their hoes, and schoolboys licked their lips. Everyone adored Stella's cooking. Her noodles weren't just food. They felt like joy itself. But beneath the sweet aroma of her stall was a secret darker than midnight. The smile Stella wore by day hid the shadows that came alive at night. When the village slept, Stella cooked in secret. Alone in her dimly lit hut, her brown skin glowing in lantern light, she stirred noodles and reached into a black nylon bag. Out came wriggling worms taken from graves and carcasses. The worms sizzled and shrank in the boiling pot. Stella sprinkled magic oil, and the foul odor turned sweet. She smiled in satisfaction, watching the spell bind itself to the noodles. The villagers ate eagerly, never knowing the cost. Farmers grew weaker, mothers became pale, and children restless. While their strength faded, Stella grew healthier and stronger. But in the same village lived Amina, a widow with smooth dark brown skin and sharp, wise eyes. She wore her headscarf neatly and raised 2 children alone, teaching them always to eat food from home. Amina soon noticed strange changes. Farmers could no longer lift their hoes. Mothers no longer cooked. Children looked pale and restless, as if something had drained their joy. One morning, Amina went to Stella's stall. Calmly, she asked for noodles. Stella's radiant face hardened. She slammed the pot shut and snapped, "The Indomie is finished. Leave my shop." Amina walked away without another word. Her dark brown eyes narrowed. Stella had revealed her fear. She knew Amina was a threat. Weeks later, Amina followed Stella into the bush at night. The moon hung high, crickets sang, and Stella carried her black nylon bag. Amina, silent as a shadow, kept her distance. Then Amina froze. Stella bent low in the forest and scooped writhing worms from a decayed body into her bag. Maggots crawled over the ground as she hummed like nothing was wrong. Amina trailed her back to the hut. Through a small hole, she saw Stella pour worms into a calabash, sprinkle glowing oil, and stir them into her pot of noodles. Amina's stomach churned, but she stayed silent. That night, Amina lay awake. Her children slept peacefully beside her, but her sharp eyes remained open. She knew she had to save her people from Stella's dark cooking. At dawn, Amina went to see Amadi, an elder with ebony skin, gray beard, and a carved staff. He welcomed her into his compound, his wise eyes already heavy with suspicion. Amina told him everything she had seen. Amadi trembled, gripping his staff. "I warned my family. I saw her in a dream feeding the dead to the living. Now, the king wants to make her his wife. If that happens, the village is doomed." Amina and Amadi leaned close, whispering. Their faces were stern with resolve. Together, they planned to expose Stella's evil once and for all. The next morning, villagers gathered at Stella's stall as usual. She smiled and ladled portions, but Amadi raised his staff and shouted, "Do you know what you are eating?" All eyes turned. Stella's brown hands trembled. She slammed the pot shut and tried to flee, but men tied her quickly with ropes. Before the crowd, Stella's radiant brown skin wrinkled. Her braids loosened and turned gray. She transformed into a frail, old woman. The villagers gasped in terror. "She's a witch," someone cried. But Stella only laughed bitterly. "You think you've won? I will make you all pay for what you did to my father." Long ago, her father Aki, a tall man with ebony skin, had been falsely accused by the king. The villagers stoned him to death. A young Stella, a brown-skinned child, watched and wept as her father fell. She fled the village and found a powerful herbalist. He taught her dark magic, and she swore to return. The charms gave her youth, and her revenge was cooked into every pot of noodles. The villagers listened in silence, torn between anger and pity. Stella stood defiantly, her wrinkled brown face bitter with pain. When the king heard, he trembled. The tall, dark-skinned ruler summoned Stella. To the shock of all, he begged for her forgiveness. He offered her land, wealth, and servants, if she would undo the curse. At first, Stella resisted, but slowly, her rage softened. For the first time in years, she felt peace. She lifted the curse, and the villagers regained their strength. A year later, Stella died quietly in her hut. Her wrinkled face carried a faint smile, and so the village learned, bitterness poisons, but forgiveness heals. Even the sweetest taste can hide the darkest secret. So next time you sit to eat a simple plate of noodles, remember sometimes, the sweetest taste may hide the darkest secrets.